What is up, everyone? My name is Vincent, and today I'm so excited to jump into this new video. Last year, I focused so much on slowing down, trying to get everything perfect and correct. This year, it's all about speed, baby. And today, we're going to be finding out whether speed in drawing does it kill or is it actually the cure? Let's check it out. Today, we're sharing the results of yet another experiment that I'm doing. 100 portrait heads, all 10 minutes long, seeing, really focusing in on how fast I can get in drawing these portraits. But why 100 portraits and why 10 minutes long? So, first of all, I'm choosing 100 just because I have found out personally for myself in getting to the 100, your mind will be telling you to stop long before you reach 100. And what I've always found in reaching 100, there is always another level that you are able to achieve once you are willing to push through that instinct that your mind is telling you to stop. Just push through it, and there are actually results on the other side. And why 10 minutes? So, for me personally, in this experiment, again, I am focusing on speed. And what I found in my past 100 figure drawing challenge is that as the different figures progressed, I found myself spending more and more time on each figure trying to make it look as good as possible. My perfectionism kind of kicking in a little bit there. This time, I want to nab that in the butt. No excuses, 10 minutes, hard stop, no questions asked. But enough talk, let's jump into this experiment and see what happened. First, I want to take you through all the different things that I learned having gone through this experiment myself, and then I want to take you on a quick run through of all 100 portraits so that you can see the progress for yourself. And probably giving away the end there by saying there was progress, because there was. But let's jump into it. So, the first thing I noticed right away when looking at the very first portraits versus the later portraits was the difference in line quality. There's just a huge difference in the amount of energy and the feel of the portrait between those that I was doing at the beginning, where it was still a lot slower, and the much faster paced portraits coming down towards the end. And not only did I have more energy, another thing that was also included in this was the fact that in the beginning, if you take a good look at those earlier portraits, there are multiple passes over the lines trying to get them correct. Still a kind of uneasy, unconfident line. And the later portraits, there is almost none of this. There is just one confident line, putting it down, leaving it alone, and it just adds so much clarity to the drawing. The second thing that I learned having gone through this experiment is that it seems that speed automatically and naturally produces randomness in your drawing, which is really great, especially for things like here and Baird, where you need a lot of randomness to produce that more realistic texture in your portraits. It seems that when you have more time to think about it, your brain just falls into a more pattern seeking format, and you end up creating patterns, which for here and there doesn't really look that well. Even for wrinkles. Even for wrinkles. You want random wrinkles. The third thing that speeding up does is that it forces you to simplify your drawing. In the beginning drawings, I was trying to draw everything, trying to put in details, trying to make sure that all the lips were precisely correct. I had the right shape eyebrows. When you're going fast, you are forced to simplify. You have to leave certain things out if you're going to have a full portrait at the end of that 10 minutes. You're deciding what to leave out, what to keep in, what is the most important things? You're forced to. The fourth benefit of speeding up is, of course, the all important mileage, your ability to get through more drawings in the same amount of time, more practice. Of course, here is a trade off between what your goal is. Is your goal learning, or is your goal to produce a final product? Because if your goal is to produce a final product, you may want to slow down just a bit. However, if you are practicing and wanting to learn something, repetition seems to be king here. And so, getting that mileage in, forcing yourself to speed up, allows you to get through many more examples, make a lot more mistakes, but also resolve a lot more errors, problem solving. So, now that we have talked about some of the takeaways from the experiment that I saw, let's jump into the actual drawings so that you can see the progress for yourself and judge and come up with your own takeaways from this experiment. So, this is where it all began. Page 1, 10-minute portraits. And as you can see, I was struggling to get much of anything on the page, really, just running out of time, moving so slowly. It was tough goings. Trying a few different techniques here, trying to see what could help me pick up the pace. So you can see I made a note at the bottom, still being too cautious, still trying to be too perfect. So for this one here, I said, tried faster without guidelines. Nope. And so basically what had happened is I stopped doing all the construction lines for this one, and it did not go well for me. And so that was a nope. It was back to the construction lines. Here you can see a little bit of improvement, getting a little bit of more of the portrait onto the page. And here we go. This was kind of a breakthrough moment for me. This was so far the most of the portrait that I had gotten onto the page in the 10 minutes. Made me go, like I might be onto something here. And so some of these started to look a little bit better. I like that beard. But here I was still spending so much time trying to get the eyebrows correct, trying to make sure I got the proper lips, just really spending too much time on detail. And so here I ended up asking myself this question: how are people drawing so fast? It really felt like I was doing everything and still could not get almost anything on the page. Here, this one is more complete because I put here not included. So there were times when the 10-minute timer went off and I still saw something I wanted to do. So I made notes of what was included after the 10 minutes. So all of that here was not there. It was pretty much like the other portraits that are here on the page. So at this point here, things started to come together a little bit with a little bit of a breakthrough page here. Shadows not included here, not included here. But still, I was getting really impressed with how some of the structure and lines were beginning to turn out, picking up the pace a little bit. Looks a little bit like a little Santa Claus down here. And by the way, from this point on, some of the portraits will start looking like people you may or may not know somewhat. So there are some more famous persons in here, like there's a Leonardo DiCaprio in here, a Bob Ross, a Clint Eastwood. So if you let's try something, right? Okay. So if you see a photo that you think you know who the person is, drop it in the comments. Tell me the number, tell me the name of the person, and we'll see if you got it right. All right. So let's try that. Here, another page, shadow lines not included. And when I say shadow lines, I'm really talking about the cross-hatching lines that are put in there. Interesting expression. But still, this was headed in the right direction for me. And now we are at 50. At this point, my brain is telling me, this isn't working out. Maybe it's not enough time. Maybe I need to extend the timer. But of course, this is why I say setting the challenge is so important for me, because I know that I want to complete it, and so I push through. And I'm glad that I did. Glad that I did, because on the very next page was, I think, for me, a breakthrough page where I really pushed the pace, forgot about detail, forgot about accuracy, and just laid it all out there. And some really cool portraits came out of this page. Just so excited about how the beards turned out. And up to this point, actually, I had been drawing a lot of female portraits. And this was the first page where I really jumped into a lot more male portraits and found that really they are actually a lot more fun to draw than female portraits. And so from this point on, there are many more male portraits being included. I'm just crazy about how those beards turned out. This page was a real game changer for me. And after this page, I was really questioning whether things could actually get better. I mean, okay, so here was not included, but wanted to get that in. Still see quite a few female faces on this page here. A little talk about proportions. Here wasn't included here. And so still some work, trying some extra expressions here, which really kind of slowed down the process. Shadow lines not included, but I really liked how the structure and layout turned out on that one with the lines. Oh yeah, yikes, baby. Tried a baby portrait there that I saw that looked kind of cool. It turned out okayish. Threw in some shadow lines after the fact there. Like how this one was turning out as well. Sometimes when I really liked how the portrait was turning out, I found myself slowing down. Really gonna get knocked with that in in a later portrait. So in this one, I took a long break, and was a few days between when I drew this one and the previous one, and I was a little bit out of practice, and so ended up with a very slow portrait and started getting back into it here. Went on this one with the hair and not the mouth, and that ended up getting left out there. But still a pretty cool page. Up to 70s here. And this is where things really started going my way, I think, really in terms of time and really trying to get up to speed. That's what I mean. So on this portrait here, I made a note. I actually checked to make sure the timer was still working, and I still had half a minute left. And I had checked it because I had gotten so far on this portrait, it really seemed like I should have been out of time. And and yeah, that's what happens when you start speeding up and start getting more accustomed to going faster. Really liked how this portrait turned out, this entire bottom row. Just loved it. Loved the shadow mapping. Loved the line quality. Pretty excited with that page. And here we have another page. Here on this one, I was really liking the portrait, and this is the one where I got so carried away with setting everything up that I just ran out of time, and I put really at the end, because I should have really known that I was spending too much time on that portrait and should have picked up the pace. But that's how it goes. No hard feelings there. It was just interesting. Here was another good page for me. Really liked this old guy here. I mean, just fell in love with drawing these type of characters. This one also had a really good expression, and so those turned out well. This was 96. So going on to the final page here, this was the final page. Here we have, I mean, this coming from coming from where I started, I'm just so pleased with how this experiment turned out, with the progress I made. I think this is a success. I'm definitely going to be challenging myself with future drawing challenges because every time I've done it so far, uh, I have seen a lot of progress. Do you think this is good progress? Let me know in the comment section as well. What you think I did well? What you think I did wrong? Did you think this was a good challenge? Let me know. So, at the end of it all, the question is, should everyone be drawing faster? My answer is yes, but. Because how fast you go is really relative based on what your final outcome is. If you are doing more academic type drawing where the end product and the goal is to be more accurate, then going faster may actually look a little bit slower for you. But if you are not going for that hyper realism, then faster will be, well, faster, right? So it really depends on what your end goal is here, but I think it is important based on what I'm seeing in just this initial trial that if you are learning, it is really important to incorporate both fast and slow drawings into your practice in order to maximize your results and your improvement. In the end, what it seems to come down to is if you want to draw better, you need to draw more. And that more is really determined by you in terms of how that looks. If you have time, then your more could be just increasing the amount of time. But if time is limited for you, then you may want to consider drawing a lot faster than you thought initially. However, it also depends on what your preference is. If you want the more realistic drawings, then you may not have a choice but to put in more time and maybe even see slower results in the long run. But it is still up to you to decide and experiment with it. Experimenting is so important, and maybe that has been the key that has helped me as well progress in my journey. And in speaking of journey, I cannot state this enough how important it is to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. Don't get overly caught up on the destination or this dream you have for yourself. It will get in the way of your learning. I struggled with this immensely in the beginning, just thinking about how good I was going to get and how fast I was going to get good. Enjoy the journey. Do not let destination or this ideal or goal you have in your head become the driving force because you will be frustrated. It will not go fast enough. And of course, if you liked this video and want to see more content like this, please feel free to join me on this journey by hitting the subscribe button as I see how far along in this art journey I can get, having started at the young age of 38. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.